UCLA was, I mean, that was, let's be honest, that was their whole season. That was their bowl game and more. Nirvana was achieved. And still it came down to basically the last play of the game where SC had a chance to catch up, and it just didn't go the Trojans' way, and that happens sometimes.
Yeah, as most good Trojan Bruin games go. Okay, Coach, we'll bring you in after looking at the tape. Give us a little summation of what went wrong and what went right against the Bruins on Saturday.
Yeah, defensively, you never want to give up that amount of rushing yards. And watching the tape, we take a lot of pride in stopping the run and watching the tape. We lost gap integrity, whether it was a missed, and we took turns doing it, whether it was a missed alignment, whether it was just getting out of a gap. Anytime that I think 4 of your 5 leading tacklers are DBs, there's an issue. And the ball was getting out on the perimeter. We need to set the edge better. We need to keep the gap integrity. And when we did that, it looked perfect. But when it didn't, that's when things started to split versus a very good runner versus Joshua Kelly. So that's the biggest thing defensively. Offensively, the 2 drives that are going to haunt me are the first 2 in the second half. You look up and we've been on the minus side of the field the entire game. I think we average start was the 19-yard line, and you take that first drive and every idea that we wrote down at halftime, I was like, wow, this is going to be really exciting. I could see this. Every adjustment that needed to be made was made. And you go 11 plays, 77 yards, and you leave it on the 3-yard line and have to kick a field goal. You come right back, and that took it from a 3 to 6 point game. And then, you get the ball back and you got a chance to get it to 2 scores. You got a chance to be able to get them out of that 13 personnel heavy package and have to start throwing the ball with Wilton a little bit. And we drive it down 10 plays, 48 yards. We're down 1st and 10 on the 28, and we come up with an illegal motion and then a holding penalty that creates a 3rd and long. And takes us out of field goal range. You can't get the 2 scores. Decide to punt him down. Reed Budovich kicks an unbelievable punt down inside the 5. And you go, wow, man, 3 and out. We can get this ball back.
Got him.
Finally going to flip the field. and they have the big run and get the lead, and that momentum kind of caught us.
It's a crazy game, and we've talked about this earlier in the week. It's not much separating a 5 and 6 USC team from an 8 and 3. No. USC team. There were several games here at the end of the season that could have gone the other way.
I think that's my biggest heartbreak is for our seniors because I look at, you've had the last 3 conference games with Cal, Arizona State, and UCLA, and all of them are 7 points or less, and all of them I can count 5 plays on my hand. I can literally count 5 plays on my hand, and so.
And that's not to take anything away from them. They took advantage.
No, it was a very. Each game was a hard fought game, but I look at it from our viewpoint of view and say, man, we could do this better. We can if we didn't make that mistake or lack that execution, and that's my job. And my job is to make sure we're executing right. And I think from. That's my disappointment for our seniors is those 5-6 plays that have held us where you're back in Santa Clara because you win those 3 games, you're practicing for Santa Clara next week.
How do you get that? Because I agree with you 100% that it's those plays, those 5 or 6 plays that are separators in games, but how do you get the players to understand when that moment is? That was the one thing that was hard for me even as a player is sort of understanding, hey, this is the moment, and this is when the play has to be made. How do you get that across to the players? Because it could happen in any quarter, first, second, third, or fourth.
Yeah, and you never know when that play is going to come up, especially in tight ball games. And, it could be an emotional decision. We had one in that game the other night, and you try to teach a young man, hey, you're going to come sit beside me, and Brandon sat beside me the rest of the game. So you try to educate them. The shining light on that game is there's a lot of young talent out there that is learning and getting better. I look at there were 6 men that had explosive plays from J.T. Daniels, who's a true freshman, Bayless Jones, who's a sophomore, Tyler Vaughns, who's a sophomore, Josh Fallow, who's a sophomore, Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's a freshman, Michael Pittman, who's a junior coming back, and Vavai Malapai, who's a sophomore. 5 of the 6 men are either freshmen or sophomores. So there's a great youth movement that I think that is really going to be coming on, and it reminds me a little bit of the team that we're playing. I remember 2 years ago Notre Dame walking in here with a bunch of young kids, and they were on a 4-8 season. And we were playing that bunch, and I walked out of that stadium. We had a great victory over them, and I said, "Wow, that's some young, really talented kids that you watch out a year or two from now. They're gonna grow up and be special." And then all of a sudden, they go from 4-8 to 10-3 to where they are now. And I see it. I see it as the head coach. I know it's hard from the outside perspective because you see just the immediate what's going on, the weekly output. But when you look at the big picture and you see the guys that are getting ready to grow up before our eyes, it gets me really excited.
So what you're saying is the SC-UCLA game, because they've got almost the same situation. Tons of young guys. That 2 years from now, when we go back to the Rose Bowl, that could be a pretty good football game.
I'm going to tell you what. I mean, you look at Jay Tufele, a freshman, Marlon, a freshman, Brandon Peely, a sophomore. You look at this both teams having some young talent on there. And Coach Kelly, I give him credit. He's done a nice job with that bunch from game one to where they are now. They've improved each game.
What can you do about second half? I wouldn't even say adjustment because you're having success in the first half, but just to get things rolling in the second half. I know it has to be, something you're paying a huge amount of attention to, because the first half it looks like, hey, we're getting ready to roll them out of the building any minute. It's just waiting to come, and then the second half, things stagnate. Not to blame any individual person, but for one reason or another, it's slowed down the second half.
I've had that question, but when I look at it and I broke it down, I said, okay, what in the first 2 drives, what happened? Well, you end up having 21 plays in the first 2 drives, and you end up having 125 yards of offense. The issue is leaving the ball on the 3-yard line and all of a sudden have it on the 28-yard line and have 2 penalties that take you out. Those were the 2 drives in my mind that could have created separation. Obviously, on the 3rd drive, taking a shot, coming out of our back end, felt good about it. We've been hitting our shots, and just one of those things. Ball slips out of a young man's hand and leads to an interception. That's the one I know we all wish we had back. From myself as a play caller to JT as a quarterback, and those first 2 drives were the ones that I thought at the end of the day, if we would have finished in the red zone, that would have created the separation we needed.
I want to end on a good note before we go to break, and you'll be with us for the 2 segments as usual. Talk a little bit about the Walter Camp Perseverance Award. Jake Olson takes that, and that's a national award that was won by Jake. That's a big deal.
Oh my gosh, huge deal. You're talking about one of the more special individuals that I have ever been around in my life. He is. We have the motto "Fight On." He's the definition of it, because for him, he inspires not only our players, but he inspires me as a coach, because there are no bad days. He does not have a bad day, and he never, ever uses the lack of sight as an excuse to be able to produce for his brothers or do his job. And he's just one of those special people that you just feel so honored to be around on a day-to-day basis.
I echo those sentiments. I've been around Jake when he was at high school in Orange Lutheran. It was an amazing story in high school, and it's great that it continues in college as well. We'll count down to kick off with Mito. Swiss watches since 1918, the official timekeeper of USC Athletics. Be the first to own the Fight On limited edition timepiece. True Trojan fans, visit shopmito.com /USC. That's shopmito.com/USC.
You're getting pretty good at these reads.
I got a couple more to practice on, too. We'll be back with more on Trojans Live. Welcome back, Trojan fans, and welcome back to Trojans Live. Well, Trojan fans, here's a deal for you. Right now, when you buy 4 select Cooper tires from a participating dealer, you'll score a voucher good for 4 free tickets to a select Trojan football game during the Cooper Tires annual Buy 4 in Store event. Visit coopertire.com to find the dealer near you. All right, Pete Arbogast, John Jackson, and Clay Helton on the set here at Trojan Live. Pete, I'll start with you. Give me some hope for this week.
I can do that.
Please.
I can do that. And this is stuff that Coach Helton, you don't have time to look this stuff up. I got
Pete
time
has
for
all
this
kinds of
stuff.
time in his hands.
So
Okay.
this is the 90th meeting between SC and Notre Dame. Huge rivalry dating all the way back to the beginning of time. The home team has won the last 5 games in this rivalry.
I like that.
Did you know? Did you know? I thought you might. Unranked USC teams have a precedent for beating ranked and highly ranked Notre Dame teams. In 1955, won there against 5th-ranked Notre Dame. In '64, one of the greatest games I ever saw as a kid. I was 9 years old. And Notre Dame was #1 in the country and came in here and led 17-0 at the half. And my dad said, "Do you want to go home?" And I said, "Well, let's just stick around and see what happens." And SC scored the last 20 points of the game, including the famous 84Z delay from Craig Fertig to Rod Sherman to win the game against top-ranked Notre Dame 20-17. 1970, 4th-ranked Notre Dame is here. It rained like the skies have never opened up in Southern California, and the Trojans beat 4th-ranked Notre Dame. In '71, we went there, beat 6th-ranked Notre Dame. And, of course, in '98, a 10-0 win here against Notre Dame. The Irish came in 11-0 in 2012, played them pretty close. 22-13 was the final in that one. So, you know, the odds makers think they know what they're talking about, but they don't always. There are these things called upsets, and they do happen.
That's right, and we need one this week. Coach, let's talk about Notre Dame a little bit. When you watch him play, let's start with the quarterback, Ian Book. He's been really good this year. I mean, he took over for Winbush, who last year, you know, you said, okay, he's a running guy. Well, now you got Ian Book, who now is sort of a dual threat guy. I mean, it makes things a little bit harder. What are you seeing from him?
Yeah, Ian has been so efficient. You know, over a 70% quarterback, 17 touchdowns, only 5 interceptions. Really making great decisions. Has the NFL arm. Has the ability to create in the pocket. Not as doing as many quarterback-driven runs as they did last year, but gosh, is he doing a great job of distributing the ball to several different athletes on their team that are really, really special, skilled players.
I'm okay not seeing Wimbush back there after what happened last year. I'm all right with that.
He's a talented player too.
What do you make when you watch film of games in which they struggled against Ball State and Vanderbilt and Pittsburgh, but then they blow out teams like Florida State and Syracuse last week, and they beat Michigan. So they seem to have a little bit of a Jekyll and Hyde.
Yeah, you know, one of the things that's impressed me too with this team, you look how much they've had to travel to. As far as I was thoroughly impressed with what they did last week versus Syracuse. I mean, and that's a different trip, and to go there against the 12th ranked team in the country and to execute like they did speaks volumes to where they are at as a football team. I think they're playing great ball on both sides of the ball. Obviously, we just talked offensively, but defensively, it's by far the best front seven that we've faced this year. I think they've got 3 NFL players on the defensive front. The Mike linebacker is a special individual and one of the better players, not only in their conference but in the country.
Right.
And so they do a tremendous job of having this older bunch ready to go, and they look up. They're 1 game away from the playoff, and we look forward. We feel like it's a great opportunity to go out and compete at the highest level and go attempt to bring the shillelagh home.
Well, the good news is you don't have to face Josh Adams because he's in the NFL now. I mean, so that's obviously the good news. But you have Dexter Williams. I mean, it's not like it's getting a little bit better, but it's not a great story.
I was going to say Dexter's not bad.
That's right. That's right. I mean, and their offense sort of goes as he goes. Is that right?
Yeah, definitely. You know, you got a guy that's got about 800 yards on the year right now, and he's a great in between the tackle runners. He's one of those guys that does not jitterbug around, dance around. He's a one-cut guy, and he looks to run through you, not around you. And violent runner that all of a sudden those 3, 4, 5, 6 yard runs turn into big home run hits because he just wears you down.
Do you have to play a perfect game in this game, or do you have to play a perfect play and then another perfect play?
You know what I would just love to see is just us have a fluid, smooth execution on all 3 phases and really have a complete game. We've had the other night we had an exceptional special teams game in my mind where it could have won the game for us. It created 14 points, a block punt and a fake on 4th and 1, and then defensively, we fall off in the run game. Offensively, we're doing well in the first half. We just don't finish in the red zone in the second half. So I'm hoping that I see a complete game for our football team against a really good team in Notre Dame.
So I'm thinking in messaging terms to your team, are you thinking, guys, we've played all these games together. We've played 11 games now. We haven't put it all together. It's time now, finally. Let's really put it all together. Is that kind of a message you give them?
Well, it's our last time to be walking the Coliseum
Right.
As a football family with this team. And I think that's special. And that's the messaging for me, is to be able to say, you know what, this is I go back and I will be emotional. There ain't no question in my mind on Saturday, because the young men that I'm going to walk in that Coliseum with, we started 4 years ago together, and they helped me get the job. Cam Smith and Porter Gustin and Marvell Tell, those individuals, Toa Lomona, they helped us get the job. They've given us a Rose Bowl. They've given us a Pac-12 title. I would just love to create one more special memory and walk out of there with a shillelagh for those kids.
You know, with that being said, you know the seniors are going to feel the sort of the same type of emotion in terms of their last game. They should be playing with their hair on fire. Do you bring it up to the rest of the team in terms of their responsibility to these guys?
Already have. We address it as a team, and not only is our responsibility to our seniors, but I told our young kids it's a responsibility to yourself, because this is a great opportunity for me to evaluate you and how you deal with adversity and what you're going to be like going into the off season. Yep. How are you going to prepare this week against a team that's fighting for a playoff, which we hope to be in the very near future. So it's a great opportunity for them to create the picture of what they want to be going into the off season. So, I really enjoyed today's practice. I thought every kid walked out there today and really prepped extremely well. Great effort, great focus, great energy. And we want to keep that going this week as a team and show up on Saturday and put our best effort forward.
I remember asking JJ on the postgame show about how it is to get up for UCLA and then Notre Dame. That's not an easy thing, emotionally speaking, to get ready for these two big games at the end of the year. On Saturday, when fans are sitting in the stands and we're broadcasting the game, if blank happens, we're going to feel pretty good and we're going to be in this game. What are we looking for?
I would say this. If we can be efficient in the running game, to take just enough pressure off the quarterback, because they are going to, their quarters coverage, there's going to be some loaded boxes. The front is very good, but if we don't have to lean totally on the passing game, I think that's going to be very important offensively. Defensively, it's about trying to stop Dexter in that running game and trying to put the pressure on the quarterback and the skill players to win it. So run the ball, stop the run is going to be important.
What does Thanksgiving look for the team?
We're going to practice Thursday morning, and then we'll cut them loose in the afternoon to go see their families. Our out of town players will either come with our coaches or our players to our houses. But we'll end up celebrating Thanksgiving Thursday afternoon with our families, and then right back to work on Friday. But it'll be an early Thursday morning.
Happy Thanksgiving, Coach.
Happy Thanksgiving.
And to all the guys on the team, too.
Oh, I appreciate it. You're doing a good job at this, Jay.
Oh, man.
Jordan better get back here pretty quick.
I can tell you, I can't wait for him to get back. So thanks, Coach. We appreciate it. The Trojans obviously take on the Irish this Saturday. Fans, come out and support this team as the seniors play their last game in the Coliseum. Trojan fans, get one free admission to the Rouse Ultimate Tailgate Experience at select USC football home games this fall when you purchase $35 of participating items at Rouse. Look for the signs and tags in the store. Every $35 you spend will get you one admission. We'll be back with another Trojan. Isaiah Langley is up next on Trojans Live.